Hi, welcome back. In this video, we'll learn about a standard approach to test any kind of system. Okay, so in future you will be working with different kind of system. You'll get a chance to write test cases and provide estimation of different kind of softwares, right? So you will have to apply the same standard approach to test a system. Okay, so let's go through it. So the first question is, when you will get a system to test, what is the first thing that you will do? I'll give you a moment to think. Okay, let me tell you. Before you start testing any software, the first thing that you need to do is proper analysis. Okay, so before you start, do proper analysis, which is the first phase of software testing lifecycle, which says that we need to go through the problem statement and do proper analysis. If you have any doubt, then you can ask the developers or the stakeholders. Okay, so if you understand the problem statement completely, half of the battle is won. Okay, so as per the first phase of SDLC, please do proper analysis, study the problem statement thoroughly, and if you have any doubts, ask questions. Okay, so I would recommend you to go through the problem statement and understand it thoroughly. Okay. The next step is to provide estimations. Okay. So we will see it in the upcoming videos. As of now, we are skipping this. Once we have gone through the problem statement and we have provided the estimations, what we need to do is to identify the key functionalities or modules. So, can you tell me what are the key functionality or the modules in our problem statement? I'll pause for a minute for you to think. Okay, so in our problem statement, the two functionalities that we have are registration and login. Okay, so before you start, please identify the functionalities or the modules that are present in the system. In our case, we have two different modules to be tested. One is registration page and another one is login. So we have two different modules. In any other kind of system that you'll be solving, you may have different kind of functionalities or modules. So it is necessary to identify the key functionalities that you are testing. In our case, it is login and registration. Now, for each functionality, we have to follow the following things. Okay. Now let's see one by one. So for registration, we have to do the following, and for login, we have to perform the following steps. So for each functionality, we have to test all the positive scenarios. We have to do all the positive scenarios for registration and login. Okay, so the context is, when we get a software, we have identified that it has two modules, registration and login. Okay, so enter all the positive values that the system requires and then register. If you get an error in the basic registration, then you can give the software back to the developer and say that the basic registration is not working. Or in the case of login, you enter a valid user ID and valid password and press on the login button. If that fails, then there is no point in testing other test cases. So do the positive testing. If it works, then we move on to the next steps. If it doesn't, we can give it back to the developers. So for each functionality, we'll first do positive testing, that is functional testing. Once the positive testing is completed and it is working as expected, we will do negative testing. In negative testing, we will try to enter invalid values, all possible types of invalid values to the system, and test it with multiple scenarios. Okay, so first we focus on testing positive testing, and then we test negative testing. Then we will test from UI and UX perspective. So we will be doing UI and UX testing. So first we'll write all the test cases for positive testing, then we'll write all the test cases for negative testing, and the third thing is that we'll write test cases for UI and UX. So what do we cover under UI and UX? We will see the look and feel, the color combination, spelling mistakes, grammatical mistakes, user experience, that is usability testing, which we have covered in one of the lectures, and so on. Okay, so we will be testing UI and UX of the application that we are going to test. So we will be writing all the test cases with respect to UI and UX. Then we'll check whether integration testing is possible or not. Okay, so do we have anything with respect to integration testing with our problem statement? I'll pause for a minute and allow you to think. Okay, so the answer is yes. If you go through the video of integration testing, you will understand that in in our scenario or in our problem, we have a registration page and then a login page. So login is only possible once we are done with registration. So when a user registers and after that it takes the user to the login page, and then we have to test it as a whole. We can test registration separately, we can test login separately, but we'll also need to check that after registration whether we are able to log in or not. Okay, so when the functionality happens one after another, uh, we need to test it as a whole. So in our case, once we test the registration page, we'll need to check whether we are able to log in using the same user ID or password or not. Okay, so in our case, integration testing is possible, and then we'll write all the test cases with respect to integration testing. Then we'll write all the test cases with respect to compatibility and portability. Okay, so here we should have the knowledge of different types of browsers, desktop and mobile OS if we are testing mobile application. In short, in this particular case, we will check the whole functionality on different types of browsers, because in our case it is a registration and login page of a website, so we'll be testing it on different browsers. Okay, so we should have the knowledge about the popular web browsers which we have in the market and the latest version of the browsers. Okay, uh, we have a dedicated video on compatibility and portability of mobile web browsers and desktop, so you will get to learn more about it. Okay, also you will see how we can test when we will be writing test cases. So once positive testing is done, negative testing is done, we cover UI, UX, integration and compatibility or portability testing. Then we'll be doing database testing, we'll be testing security. We have already had a video on security testing, so we'll cover all possible things which is possible to test from security perspective. Then we'll be testing the performance, stress test and load test. Okay, so to summarize, firstly, we'll do proper analysis and understand the problem statement. Then we'll be providing estimations, which we'll see in the upcoming videos. Then we'll identify the key functionalities. In our case, there are two functionalities, registration and login. Then for each functionality, we'll do the following. For each functionality, we'll check positive testing, negative testing, UI UX testing, integration testing, compatibility testing, database, security, performance, and stress test. And the same we will repeat with login functionality. Okay, so no matter what kind of system you are testing, you have to follow the same steps, and our test cases should contain the same actions. Okay, so this is how it is. This is the standard approach to test any system. You have to ask questions. In the first case, have you done the analysis? If no, then please do it. Then you need to provide estimations. Then you need to find out what are the key functionalities. In our case, it is register and login. So yes, third step is also done. Then for each functionality, you need to see whether you able to test any positive testing. If yes, then do it. Is there any scope to do negative testing? If yes, then write the test cases for all negative testing. Then UI UX. Is there a scope to test UI and UX of the system? If yes, then write all the test cases required for UI and UX testing. Then go ahead with integration testing, database, compatibility, security, performance, and stress test. So all these things has to be mentioned in the test cases file. Okay, so you have to follow this standard approach to test any system. Okay, I hope you have liked this video, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Thank you.